Hello, my name is Mascha Beuthel and I'm presenting today Experiencing Distance, Wearable Engagements with Remote Relationships. This work was done in collaboration with Philippe Bentegeac, Verena Fuchsberger, Bernhard Maurer and Manfred Tscheligi. Families, friends and partners are increasingly living in physical distance from each other or are unable to meet in person due to work requirements, political circumstances, a global pandemic, or life choices. There are already various connected artifacts, games, tangible interfaces, and wearables existing that aim to bridge and overcome that physical distance and make remote living people feel closer or more connected. In this pictorial, we focus on the more negative experiences encountered when being far apart from loved ones, such as not being able to exchange physical touch or hugs, not being able to be part of each other's daily life, and also experiencing negative emotions like loneliness, missing one another, feeling left behind, isolated, and detached. We engaged with such experiences in a qualitative study where we conducted interviews with family members that live far apart from each other. Their personal stories were the inspirational starting points for exploring the space of negative experiences of remoteness. We decided to materialize their insights and personal stories into a wearable form, which concurrently makes their experiences wearable and also experienceable to others. The results are these wearable artifacts. We created 2 pairs of artifacts. One pair is called Breath. It embodies the lack of bodily presence and the fear of losing physical closeness to the remote other. The other pair embodies the lack of physical bodily interaction between people that live far apart. It is called Warmth. The 2 artifacts of each pair are connected to each other through Wi-Fi, and they can sense each other's proximity and then react to the distance between them. The aim was to deliberately not create interactive artifacts that would bridge or playfully overcome the distance, and instead we contribute material manifestations in the form of wearables of the melancholic, negative, and sad emotions of living remotely. To make these artifacts, we engaged in an iterative design and making process that builds, for example, on sketching, practices from textile craft, sewing, and fashion design, and explorations with various physical materials and electronics. We also constantly involved our own bodies into the making process, meaning we tried and experienced how the prototypes of the wearables would feel and behave on our bodies and our skin. The outcome are the 2 pairs of artifacts that appear rather fragile, delicate, and to be handled with care. They are representing the fragility of remote relationships. One of the pairs is called Breath. When people live in a distance, they are unable to feel, smell, sense, and experience the other person, such as getting an impression of their well-being, their aliveness, and their body. All of these experiences are embodied in Breath. It is a wearable manifestation of the fear of losing emotional and physical closeness in remote relationships. Breath consists of 2 artifacts that are connected to each other through Wi-Fi. They can detect their proximity through an RFID sensor and a tag that are placed inside the wearables. And they have servo motors attached on the back side. And these motors enable the light and more transparent fabrics in the front of the artifacts to move. This movement should remind of human breath. When the 2 artifacts are co-located, like in this video, the motors and the textiles move, and it seems like they are breathing or like they are alive. But when they are physically dislocated from each other, the movement decreases gradually and the materials appear to lose life until the breathing stops completely. The other pair is called Warmth. Not being able to meet in person means also not being able to feel and hug the other person. The lack of bodily touch was very often discussed with our interviewees as one of the major aspects that cannot be replaced through a phone call or video chat. Warmth manifests that lack of closeness, of bodily touch, and the missing of the interactions with a distant other person through decreasing and disappearing heat. The two artifacts are also connected through Wi-Fi, and they are able to detect their proximity. If they are co-located, the heat pads that are indicated on the images in these orange rectangles, they heat up, and the heat pads are located in areas where one would feel the body warmth of another person during a hug, so in the shoulder, back, and neck area. If the artifacts are physically dislocated from each other, the temperature gradually decreases, and the warmth that one is feeling on the body is slowly fading away. As I mentioned, the process of making the artifacts included trying them on our own bodies and on the body of others. We asked colleagues to wear also the finer versions of breath and warmth, as shown on the images, which allowed us to gather some initial feedback and reflections. For example, when we were making breath, we spent a lot of time on creating the interplay of the motors, thread, the tension, and fabric pulling to create that breathing effect. And also we spent time on actually decreasing the movement of the motors on the fabric in the back of the artifacts. But when others tried the artifacts, we realized that the movement of the motors was actually not a problem that we had to fix, but actually it was feeding into the experience. It even increased the sensation of breathing and aliveness that is fading once the artifacts are dislocated. Concluding, I want to highlight that breath and warmth are material representations of very personal experiences of living in a distance. By giving such experiences a physical existence, they can be worn, discussed, and experienced by other people. Through this work, we intend to emphasize that the negative, melancholic, and vulnerable experiences of people that live far apart are a potential and rich design space when designing for remote interactions. In future iterations, we intend the wearables to be tested and discussed by people that live in a distance, for example, the interviewees that actually inspired this work. And also we want to explore how we can extend the interactivity of breath and warmth once they are dislocated, because currently the movement and the heat simply stops at some point. And we aim to further understand how we can design for the time when they are absent from each other and when they are in a distance. Thank you.